Let's start then. So yeah, so now we will take a small problem. The problem is so there are two variables in a program, and we want to uh, exchange the contents of the two variables, or this is what is called as a swapping the contents of two variables. So like let's so we want to write this program called as swap.c. So just give me a minute, guys. My pen is not here. Great. So there is a so let's say in your program there are two variables, a and so there is a variable a and there is a variable b. So this is your memory. So variable a is allocated memory here and variable b is allocated memory here. So this is variable b and this is variable a. And so let's say variable a contains 10 and variable b contains 20. So we want to write a piece of code so that we can swap the contents of the variables a and b. That is 20 should be present in the memory location associated with a and 10 should be present in the memory location associated with b after the execution of the chunk of code. So what is the idea here? So if you want to take the analogy, let's say you have a glass tumbler. So this you have a glass. Yeah. So you have a glass tumbler. So this is A, and so this has some water in it, and this has this is glass tumbler B, and this has milk in it. You want to exchange the contents of these two glass tumblers. So what do? You take an empty glass tumbler. So you take an empty glass tumbler. Let's call it as T, and you transfer the contents of A to T. So once you transfer the contents of A to T, A gets empty. And then what you do is, and then after that you take tumbler B and you transfer the contents of B to A. So now B will be empty. And in the last step, what do? You transfer the contents of T to B. Yeah, T to B. So this is the plan. So here when you transfer the contents of A to T, so T contains the contents of A, that is water. And so the milk that is in B, you transfer to A now, and the water that is present in A, you transfer to B. So this is the idea. Are you all with me here? Right? So yeah, so let's say, so this thing you transfer it here, and whatever this you transfer it here, and yeah, so you get the idea, right? So this is what it is. So finally, the milk in A is present in B, and whatever the green liquid that is present in B got transferred to A. This is the idea. So now let's write code for this and see how it works. So t is the temporary variable. So what do we do? So we say t is equal to a. That is what we do initially. And then we say a is equal to b. And finally we say t is equal to sorry, b is equal to t. So this is the, and then say we see printf after swap. This is what is called as swapping the contents of variables a and b. A is equal to %d, b is equal to %. Let me erase all this here, all my drawings. Let's compile this code and run it. Okay, let's see what happens. So now you can see that the values of the variables a and b before swap is 10 and 20 respectively. And after swap, the value of the variables is 20 and b respectively. So, but the problem is, so it is all right to, now we understood the logic for yeah, Mukund has an idea. So it's a good idea, Mukund, but there is one small problem in the way you have written. I will tell that problem later, not in this class. But there is a different way, equivalent way to do the swap without a third variable, but that doesn't use addition operation, addition and subtraction operations. So think of it this way, Mukund, just if the values of A and B are really large, then when we add A plus B, then what happens is there's an overflow that happens. There is a loss of, in order to avoid that overflow, we use an alternate operation called as an exclusive OR operation to do the job that you're trying to do. Yes, yes. So those of you who didn't quite get it, it's okay. We will revisit it later. So the problem here is the logic for swap here is perfectly fine. The problem though is we use swap many times as a subroutine or as a function in a bigger logic. So we want to make a function out of this. We want to make a function out of this. Swap so swap function. Great. So what do we do? Let's see. So we have int. We don't, swap doesn't return anything. It returns void, but it takes two parameters, int a, int b. And then, so we have int t here. So now when we run this program, and so this is a nice program. So let's, I don't want this. Okay. So what are we doing? So before we read the input, and we print the what is the value of A and B before swap, and then we call the swap function, and then we print A and B. So what will happen? Can you tell me, let's say if I pass A and B as 10 and 20 as parameters, what will be the value that gets returned? What will be the output of this program if I input 10 and 20? No change. So let's see if there is, some people are saying it gets swapped, some people are saying it doesn't get swapped. Let's try to see what happens. Yeah, Sarthak got it right. So now if I enter 10 and 20, you can see the swap is not happening. The swap is not happening. What is the reason? And this is not because of the scope of the variables. This is because we studied a lot about this in the last class. We studied a lot about this in the last class. Let's try to actually, yeah, let's do gcc minus g swap func.c, and then run. Let me have a breakpoint here. Run toggle breakpoint, start debugging. Okay. Are we, which function? Okay, we are good. I think so. Yeah. So now, pay attention, guys. So where are we in right now? So we are, if you see, why is the call stack empty? Okay, because we didn't hit the breakpoint. Okay. So we are on line 16. The program got stuck at line 16 because there's a scanf function. So I'm entering 10 and 20. Are you with me here where we are? Are you all with me that we are debugging the program? And as we are debugging the program got stuck at line 16 because it is waiting for an input from us. And after we enter the input, it prints that input, and then it halts on line 20 because I put a breakpoint on line number 20. There is a breakpoint on line number 20. So now if you see that before swap, the values of variables A and B, A and 10, it got printed. And if you look at the call stack, on the call stack, currently the activation record associated with main is present. And in that activation record, the memory for the local variables A and B are allocated. What is the scope of these local variables A and B? The scope of the local variables A and B is the function main. They cannot be accessed outside the function main. They cannot be accessed outside the function main. So now we are stepping into swap function. So when we step into swap function, so what happens is the local variables, the swap function has the local variables T, A, and B, but the local variables A and B are special local variables, that is, they are parameters. So when that function is called, whatever the value with which we are calling this function, this 10 and 20, they are copied into these A and B that you are seeing on the stack. They are different from the variables A and B that are there in the activation record associated with me. So what happens is, if you see, so you can see here how the local variables are all changing. Okay, at the end of the swap function, A got 20 and B got 10. But the problem is this A and B, they are different from the A and B of the function main. So because of that, this swap is not doesn't get reflected in the function. Did you understand what's happening? So when you go back, you can see if you look at A and B, this A and B, it's still the same. I mean, because they didn't change. Okay, so maybe in order to make it easy for you, we don't need to return any return value. There are no return values in this. What is the purpose of this swap function? The purpose of this swap function is to swap two variables. So now in order to kind of make it easy for you, I'm just renaming these variables LA and LB. That's not the problem. Then why do you need to even call A and B swap function? You can just print them in the opposite order. No? That's not the point of this code. The point of this code is because we would like to use this swap function in other things that we are going to do in today's class. That is, we will write a program for sorting, and in that we need this one. So let's try to debug this program again. So let's try to debug this. Delete. Okay. So now let's pay attention here. We are debugging again. Start debugging. So where are we? So we are on line number 16. Scanf is waiting for input 10 and 20. So before swap, the values of variables A and B are 10 and 20. You can see on the call stack, the activation record for main is present, and in its activation record, the variables A and B are present. And the memory, and variables A and B contain 10 and 20. So now we are entering the swap function. So when we enter the swap function has three local variables, T, LA, and LB. And the parameter passing mechanism is what is called as a call by value parameter passing mechanism. Is what is called as a call by value. So the value of A got copied into LA, and the value of B got copied into LB. So LA now contains 10 and LB now contains 20 when the function swap got called. And then this swap is happening. So after we execute the three instructions, LA contains 20 and LB contains 10. But this has got absolutely nothing to do with A and B in main. If you go and see A and B in main, they still contain 10 and 20. They are not changed. Are you all with me on this? Do you see the observation? This is very critical. That A and B, they are still 10 and 20. They are not changing. But LA and LB, they got changed locally. So because of that, when we come back from swap here, the value of A and B are still 10 and 20, so there is no swap happening. And yeah, that's what gets printed. Great. So how do we fix this problem? So in order to fix this problem, so we use what are called as pointers. We introduce a new data type called as pointers. So this function, we change this function to star ptra. So let's use this int star ptra, int star ptra. So what we have to do is in the memory. So what we do is, so let's say this is your this is variable A, and it is of type integer. It is of type integer. And then we have another variable ptra, another variable ptra. It is of type what is called as a pointer to an integer. And a pointer to an integer, it is written, its data type is written like this, int star. That is, it is a pointer to an integer. This is how in C we write what is called as a pointer to an integer. So let's say the address of the variable A in memory is 100, and it contains a value 10. And when we do something like this, ptra is equal to address of A, then what happens is the memory address of the variable A, which is 100, gets, uh, it will be written to the memory location associated with ptra. Let's say the ptra is also a variable and it also has memory. And let's say the address associated with it, for the sake of simplicity, is something like 2000 is the is the address associated. And if you want to access this memory location 100, if you do star ptra, if you do star ptra, then what happens is whatever the address that is present in the variable ptra, in this particular case 100, we go to that address and access the contents of that memory location. So in other words, star ptra and A, they are equivalent to each other. When we access A, the value that we get out is 10. And when we use star ptra, the value that we get is again 10. They are aliases of each other. They are alias. This is what is called as, they are aliases of each other. I want you to understand that ptra is also a variable and it also has an address. So this is the most important thing in today's class, in that I want you are getting into pointers, which is little bit involved. Unless you get the basics right, you will not get it right. So now I have a question for you. So when we access A, what do we get in an expression? Let's say there is an expression. So let's say x is equal to some expression is there and here. So when we say A, use A here, what is the value of A that, what will be the value of A that we get there? Right? Or let me put it this way. Let me, if we do, this is the question. So first question is, for the sake of simplicity, so when we do printf A, what do we get? Number 2, when we do printf address of A, what do we get? Number 3, if you do printf ptra, what do we get? Someone got it wrong. Someone said 2000. No, ptra is the contents of the variable A, of the variable ptra, and it is 100. Now number 4, if I say printf address of ptra, what do we get? Great. Number 5, if we do printf star ptra, sorry, what do we get? This is what star ptra is, what is called as pointer dereferencing. Pointer dereferencing. This is star is what is called as a dereferencing operator. Dereferencing operator. I want you to understand all these 5 things. If you understood all these 5 things, then you are in a good shape. Let's see if they have any pointers here. Okay. So we'll see, we'll refer to this document later. Okay, just. Some problem. Star PTRA, so what star is an operator, what it does is, it looks whatever the address that is present in the variable PTRA, it goes to that address and from that address it reads the value. Now PTRA is not always equal to the address of A. In this particular case, because we kind of set things up like that, we have that. So here, just because we made PTRA is equal to address of A, it is because of that it works. So the important thing is the new thing that you are learning here is, if you see, A and address of A, they are very simple. The only new thing that you are learning is the star operator. What the star operator does is, when we apply a star, let's say this is PTRA and it contains 100. When we apply a star operator, you go to a memory location whose address is 100. And let's say the contents of it is equal to X, that gets printed. That's the value. Pointer A contains 100. You apply star operator and pointer A. Then what happens is the content that is present in pointer A, that is the address, you go to that address, you read a value and you print that address. Are you all good here so far? Shall we write a small program to test these things out? Does it make sense, guys? Are you with me? Okay. So now let's see. Hash include stdio.h. So main. So I have int A, int ptr. So now this is what we are going to do. So ptr A is equal to address of. So number 1, so A is equal to %d and A, we are printing A. Number 2, so let me do one thing. I will print A is equal to this and address of /t, address of A is equal to %p, address of A / and thank you much. The next thing that we do is It just prints the address that in a hexadecimal format. Let's see gcc ptr.c. What did I do wrong? It's okay, it's all warnings. Oh, okay. PTRA is great. So now you can see A. So what is the address of the variable A in the memory? What is the address of the variable A in the memory? It is this address. The address of variable A in the memory is this. And if you go look at the contents of PTRA, it is this. So PTRA, since we assign PTRA is equal to address of A, these two will match. But PTRA itself is a variable, so it also has an address. This is the address memory location at which we are printing addresses in hexadecimal because it is easy to, otherwise it will be long. So it's good to have print addresses in hexadecimal. And address of PTRA, the variable is this. And the variable A contains 10, and when we do star PTRA, so what happens is, if you see this picture, this is, if you think this is the memory location associated with PTRA, and PTRA's address is this. So 0x7FF no, C725AD0. This is address of the variable. This is address of the variable PTRA. Are you all with me here? Are you all with me? %P is just print the address in hexadecimal format. What does PTRA contains, and what is the address of the variable A? The address of the variable A, this is variable A. And what does the variable A contains 10? What is the address of the variable A? The address of the variable A is 0x7FF E6C 725ACC. This is the address of the variable A. So I want you to pay attention to these observations. Okay, the first observation is this. The variable A, I will use a different color. The contents of the variable A contains the value 10. Where the address of the memory location at which variable A is present is this. The address of the variable PTR, because PTRA is also a variable, it is this. That is the third observation. And what is the fourth observation? The fourth observation is PTRA contains the address of variable A. So what is the address of variable A? Again, this is this huge long string, but I'll still write E6C 725 ACC, and this is the fourth observation. Are you all with me on these four observations? Yes or no? And what is the fifth observation? The fifth observation is this. The fifth observation is when we do star PTRA, what happens is, this is what is called as a pointer dereferencing operation. You look at the address that is present in the variable PTRA, and you go to that address, And whatever the value that is present at that address, you return. This is the fifth observation. This is the fifth observation. The data type of PTRA is not int, it is int star. The fourth observation is pointer A, PTRA contains the address of the variable A. That's the fourth observation. PTR, that's because it's not like it is always true, but we have a statement PTRA is equal to address of A. Because of that, it is true. So because of this thing, so this whole thing implies observation 4. Yeah, int star PTRA, int space star PTRA, int space, all those things are the same. And the data type of A is int, and the data type of PTRA is int star. We have to specify the data type of all variables in C programming language. Before you ask other questions, are you with me on these 5 observations? This forms the core base. So now if you're all with me on these observations, then we will go ahead and tackle the problem at hand. The problem at hand is we would like to write a swap function. So the way we are going to, we want to change the contents of, exchange the contents of 2 variables A and B. So in order to do that, we pass their addresses instead of their values. It will be, if the data type of A is float, then the pointer is float star. All right. So here int temp, so this is what we do. So star PTRA is equal to T. That's it. And then, so here in the swap, you pass the addresses of it. This is what we do. Are you all with me on this code? We will trace this code. We'll trace through this code. Let's compile this program and we will see what happens. Now you can see the exchange is happening. So let's try to understand this program and see what is going on. So let's try to run this program in the debug mode, start debugging. So we are entering value 10 and 20. So if you look at the call stack, how do I look at the call stack? So I entered 10 and 10, that's okay, but view call stack. No, it's not going to work. I got this problem once, I forgot how to, maybe. Let's try to run this again. Start debugging. Debug view. Okay, got it. So I got the debug view. So now I entered 10 and 20. So yeah, so now we are at line number 10, line number 20 in the swap. Are you with me here so far? Are you with me? We are on line number 20. All we did is we entered the value 10 and 20. What will be the parameters that get passed to the swap function? What will be the parameters that get passed to the swap function? So if I see print ampersand A, yeah, this is, I'm not sure how this debug console works, but let's, okay, let's go to terminal. So swap passes the address of the variables. So we pass the address of variable A and address of variable B to the swap function. So if you go step inside, now you can see that the address of variable A is this and address of variable B is this. Are you all good? Does it make sense that PTR-A contains the address of A and PTR-B contains the address of B? That's what we have passed. Very good. So now, so what happens is if you see, if you kind of press this one, this is very interesting, that if you apply a star operator on it, that is the contents of this memory location is 10 and the contents of this memory location is the contents of this memory location is 20. Does this also make sense? Because that's what is expected, right? So now when we do star PTR is equal to, no, T is equal to star PTR. So T contains, so now after this, you can see the value of T got changed to 10. So now we say star PTR B is equal to star PTR A. So now it's very important to understand when line 8 gets executed, the contents of this memory location gets updated. And the contents of this memory location, it will turn out to be 20 after this. Yeah, you can see that the contents of this memory location got turned out to be 20. Now, if you go and check the call stack associated with the activation record associated with main, the variable A got modified to 20. Are you all with me here? How many of you are with me here? Am I audible? So this is very, very important. This tracing this whole code using VS Code in this particular fashion is very cool. And then again we go and then we execute the star PTRB is equal to T. That means when this statement gets executed, whatever the contents of this particular memory location which is present in PTRB, that location gets changed. But this location, this memory address is nothing but the address of variable B in the function main. So because of that, that the contents of that memory location got changed. And now we are out. So when we are out, so you can see that the contents of the variables A and B got swapped and they get put. Yeah, so any changes in star PTR-A will actually change A because PTR-A contains the address of A. So in this process, the parameter passing mechanism is still the same. It is still call by value parameter passing mechanism. So we didn't change the parameter passing mechanism. So like, for example, here, yeah, so we didn't change the parameter passing mechanism at all. We are still passing values. Yeah, so PTR-A is useless until and unless we assign. Call by value is when we call a function, the value of the arguments that we are passing, we copy it into the parameters of the associated function. In this case, swap. We cannot change that mechanism. We are passing the value. That's what it is. There is another mechanism called as call by reference mechanism that we will study later. I don't think we'll study in this course because In C, there is no call by value is the only parameter passing mechanism available in C. It depends on the language. Yeah, that's true, Siddharth. It depends on the language. We cannot change the mechanism. Are you all with me on this example? We are not making copies of, we are just passing the addresses of the variables A and B to the swap. So now if you're all with me, then what happens is, now what we will do is, I will take 10-15 more minutes to solve one more problem that I will introduce to you arrays, and then we try to see how we can sort a list of numbers, right? So here, let's first try to see how we can read a list of read arrays, and then we will figure out how to sort arrays, how do we print arrays, so on and so forth. So usually what happens is, many times, let's say, so far we are working with what are called as scalar variables. You are working with scalar variables like A, B, whatever, no? But in practice, most of the time when you are working with student records, you have an array of you have a list of students, or you have a list of marks, or you have a list of cities, or you have a list of trains, and so on and so forth. So we have to deal with, in practice, this entities doesn't come in isolation. We usually have a list of objects to work with. In this context, we need a new data type called as arrays. That's what we will see in the next 15 minutes. Hash include so let's say you are let's say temperature. We'll take temperature. Okay, so let's say temperature is what we are interested in, and let's say we are working with so there are 25 let's say there are 30 states in a particular country, and we want to just give me a minute, rename. So there are 30 states in a country, and or 30 main cities in a country, and we would like to know the temperature of these each of these cities, each of these 30 cities. And we want to kind of do multiple things with it, like, for example, sort the cities in decreasing order of the temperatures or increasing order of temperatures, so on and so forth. Right? So the first thing is, we would like to read these temperatures. So we would like to read these temperatures. So we write a function. So we will write a function called we'll write int read temperatures. So in order to make it easy, let me use the word. I'll just say array. Okay, just to make it simple, so that I don't need to type a lot. But you can imagine that this array could contain the population of different cities, or the temperatures in different cities, or so on and so forth. So you want to read an array from the user, and whenever we want, we would like to print an array. And then maybe we want to sort the contents of an array. Etc. So let's try to see how we can read an array. So, so here we pass int a. Yeah. So we want to the read array function. It takes an array as a parameter, and the way it takes we declare that a particular function takes an array as a parameter is by using this notation int a followed by square brackets, and the square brackets doesn't contain anything, right? And then what do we do? So we want to read integers. So yeah, what do we do? So we can take one of our previous codes. Yeah, what's the big deal? We will write it here. So while scanf %d. Yeah, maybe I should use, yeah, it's okay. Scanf %d, a of I plus plus, while it's not equal to 0. Yeah, I think we don't need anything else. That's all. Int I is equal to 0, and we return I. Does this code make sense? We keep reading one integer at a time. So in order to access the 0th element of an array, so the way we declare arrays is, no, we say int array of let's say 10. If you want to access the ith element of an array, we just use array of I. That's all. Does this make sense now? So we keep reading inputs, one input at a time. And what the int read array, what it does is it returns the number of values, the size of the array. It returns the size of the array it has read. So there is a small bug in this program actually. Can someone tell me what's the bug in this program? No, it's not like original swap or anything. So I want to maybe slightly do this like this. I is equal to, I think this is a better way to do it. So there's a reason I changed the code. So I want you guys to figure out so why I changed this a of I plus plus to this particular form. Are you all with me in this code? And then let's try to print array. It will take the size of the array as input, and then it will int I is equal to 0, I less than or equal to. Yeah, the array indexing starts from 0, array of 0, array of 1, array of 2, so on up to array of 9. So now let's look at this code and see. So we'll we have to read array, and size let's see how this program works and then we will take it up. Sort.ca. Okay. Sort.c. Ten, 20, -1, 30. Let me do one thing. Yeah, I don't, we have to enter some crazy character in order to get out of this loop. So I don't like it. So let me do this. Okay. So now we are good. Okay. Are you all with me in this code? So what we are doing here? So what we are doing here is in the function main, please pay attention to me. In the function main, we are declaring an array of size 30. That is, so what happens is if you look at the memory for memory diagram for array, if this is your RAM, you will see that no, this is the 0th entry element of the array, first element of the array. This is array of 0, and this is array of 1. So this is array of 2, so on and so forth. Array of 29. So the memory for all these elements is laid out consecutively one after other in the memory. And then on line 27, you are calling the read array function. So if you go look at the read array function, so read array function, we are passing array as the parameter. So we are passing array as the parameter. And we are reading one element after another element until we hit the end of file symbol, at which case, no, you, and then what we are doing is we are keeping track of number of elements in the array. So I keeps track of the number of elements in the array. So if you read only one element successfully, then you enter the while loop once and the value of I gets incremented by 1. Are you all with me here? Doing all right? Good so far? And then, so in order, while printing the array, we need to tell what is the size of the array. Without that, the print array function doesn't know what is the size of the array. So here we are storing the return value from read array, which stores the size of the array, which is returned by the read array function. And then the print array function, we pass array and then we pass the size and it prints the array contents. Are you all with me here? Doing all right? Good so far? Does it make sense? What happens after I is equal to, it's not, so I will become equal to 30, but your program will be buggy. So here when you say 30, if you end up using, trying to access array of, the valid array access array indices or array to, so the valid, so the what are the valid array indices? Array of I where 0 is less than, I is less than or equal to 29, this is valid. But if I is equal to 30, then your program, some weird things can happen in your program. If I is equal to 30, for example. So your program is essentially a buggy program in that case. Would you like me to continue and solve the sorting problem, or we would like to pick it up in the next class? I think maybe we should pick it up in the next class. We should. In this case, the function is not returning values. The function is not returning values in the array. Okay, so I will stop here. I want you to think. I want you to think and then understand these ideas. In the next class, we will solve an important problem, that is sorting, and we will also look at two-dimensional arrays and arrays in a little bit more detail. That is the plan for the next class. Can we discuss about another challenge? So we will see. Stop.